So to give you an idea of how busy I was over the weekend, I produced a new Glyos recap and completely forgot to make it live for everyone to see after I had to edit it. So that made me feel dumb. So yeah, that went live earlier. I don't know if it popped up in your feed, but if you want to check it out, go check it out. There's some new molds that came up, and you might find something a little bit different and interesting this time. But for now, we're actually going to talk some Transformers, because that's what I kind of do here on Random Review. Mostly because I'm not up to date on Kamen Rider. Geez, got expensive. Yen crept up on me again. So for now, we're going to stick to what I have on hand. And what I have on hand are a bunch of toys with some fairly odd beast modes, or some fairly odd ways of being beasts. So we're going to take a look at a few of them this week, starting with Age of Extinction Grimlock, specifically the Voyager version of the figure. There was always the debate, Voyager or Leader, Voyager or Leader, and I've seen the Leader in person. I've goofed with it a little bit. I much prefer the Voyager, but we're going to go into why now. He is cast in a very nice bronze plastic. It does have a metallic element to it, but it's not the kind of swirly that concerns me over the long term. It also comes with a lot of the standard gray plastic, and a lot of it has been painted over in silver. You can see across the head where a lot of here on top is the flat gray, and then you get into all the metallic paint that covers a lot of the top of the head, the horns, a little bit of the horn back here, and some of the tail in the rear. It also has a lot of black on him, trying to recreate some kind of tiger striping thing that I don't think they depict T-Rexes with anymore, but let's not argue it. It looks cool. What might not look cool to you is proportions on this guy, because as T-Rexes go, he's a bit funky. He's extremely wide-hipped, because of course those are going to become his arms in robot mode, so they have this really wide stance just by default. But he also has these absolutely massive feet going on. These tiny little arms, which is appropriate for a T-Rex, but they seem fairly far down on his body and fairly far out to the sides. And then you have horns, which I'm pretty sure T-Rexes didn't have. And then this is the part that gets a lot of people, is this hunchback look that he seems to have. Because typically you see a model T-Rex or a piece of artwork and they're very sleek down the back. And here we have this hump thing going on. I actually kind of don't mind that part of the look. I think it makes him look beefier and bulkier and a little bit more powerful. But hey, that's just my imagination at work here. I think the tail's the weird part, since it's the legs kind of squished together. It's very wide. It's actually wider than his body in some parts, which is a little bit strange. But for the most part, it's definitely a T-Rex, but it's not quite the shape that you may have been expecting. So what can we do with this guy play value-wise? Well, he's got some universal hips, so he does have posability, as well as thigh rotations, knees, and what would be ankles, since these are digitigrade legs, as well as heels in the back. The tail is not posable in any way. In fact, trying to move it at all is going to pop it loose, because it barely pegs together here. He also has the ball joints here at the elbow. The shoulders. Those would be shoulders, very tiny, but they are shoulders. And then you have a little bit of a gimmick here. Bite, 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 bite. Nom, 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 nom. I always debate whether I just would it be better to have it closed and then spring open when you hit the button, or like this. I think it looks a little bit fiercer like this, a little bit more interesting. Also, let me see if I can get the light in there so you can see. I love the molding on the eyes. That teal color kind of pops out of there, and it's almost like spider webbing throughout, getting down to the pupil. It's actually a really cool look, so I like that. Alright, so I can also integrate his weapon into this mode, but it ain't pretty. You can take his big club thing, mace, whatever, and you'll actually find little rails on his feet, or on the tip of his tail, which actually is his feet, that will connect into the actual mace and peg on into that. This is absolutely stupid looking. But on the upside, you can also just remove that piece, and then you have this nice big club tail, which is a little bit more interesting. At least it looks like an actual thing he's intended to do, and not just, hey, I got my tail stuck on my big mace, spear, lance thing. So let's get him to robot mode, and we'll see what else he can do. I'm going to go ahead and start by straightening out the legs, folding up those the heels, and then just getting these as straightened out as possible, just to get them out of the way. We're going to open up the legs and bring them down as well. Now there's going to be a weird part in this particular transformation where this piece is going to have to stop like halfway through transformation in order to get this piece through it. It's a little bit weird. So I'm going to go ahead and split these. The horns go up. Horns have to go up so that this piece can slip through like that. And then we can kind of go through the rest of the transformation. Now he's going to come up to robot mode here, so we'll start from here. Fold all of these down, the hips. That can fold there, and we'll fold these down to get them out of the way. Get a lot of things out of the way in this toy. All that folds down to create the chest itself. Flip the feet up. Arms going around. And from here, we can go ahead and rotate the fists out. Bring out the hands. Bring the dino feet to the back just to get them out of the way. We can go ahead and socket them in there, I guess, and we'll do it that way, just for the sake of locking everything into place where it's supposed to go. And then to the back, this is going to come up to form the shoulders. This is going to come down, tuck into a backpack. Doesn't peg in anywhere, but it will stay in place. That just kind of hangs there. Just a couple of adjustments just to get the head in the right spot. We're going to have our completed robot mode of Age of Extinction Grimlock, the Voyager version at least. He does give way to a very powerful vestige in robot mode. Very wide shoulders, big shoulder armor, very tall legs. He does have something of that night theme they were going with. So it's not an unsuccessful attempt to get the theme in there, which we're going to see by bringing him in close and taking a look at the head, where he definitely has something of a knight's helmet going on. All the Dinobots had this, and I thought it was a really good way of connecting them thematically. You know, it did, ironically, next movie is the one where we have something called The Last Knight, and it seems like we got all the knights out of the way in this particular iteration of the movieverse. But hey, why not? Why not? Let's just see what they have in mind. So he is largely pretty much the same color-wise as we saw in his actual beast mode. There's a little bit more black showing through for elbows, hands, and thighs and all that, but for the most part, everything is still there. He is, of course, as a beast former, uses most of his beast mode to create the robot, which does give him a more of a consolidated look, a little bit more of a, a little bit, well, he doesn't have a, magic transform. Ooh, I wonder what he turns into. No, he's got giant T-Rex heads on his shoulders. I'm pretty sure he turns into a T-Rex. Just a hint. So, yeah, I do like him, though. I do like the added detailing to the chest. There's a little bit of faux detailing there for what should be the lower jaw, but clearly is not. But it does give him an interesting look. A little bit of an Autobot symbol on the belly. And a little bit more detail here. This is where the silver on the legs actually comes into play. I do like how sharp everything gets. You have very Dinobot-esque bones around the sides of the legs, which is good. The Jester feet is a little bit weird, but beyond that, I do like how he looks. I like big spiky designs in robots. He does look very brutal and very powerful. So let's see what the articulation is like. Well, we do have a hinge or a swivel to actually rotate the neck around, and a little bit of up and down, a little bit hinged there. The ball joints in the shoulders work quite well. Universal. Well, it's actually not a ball joint. It is a proper universal joint, so there. Here's something else the Dinobots all had in common. He does have a bicep joint, and he does have a 90-degree elbow and a wrist rotation. But because of that transformation pin, that would technically give him the barbell curling arms. Every Dinobot in the line had them. I don't know why. Luckily, you can break his and get whatever type of arm you want if you need to use that elbow to go forward. So that's good. Nothing at the waist, but we do have more universal joints here in the hips. Thankfully, because these panels are on a double joint, they get out of the way fine, so they don't hinder your articulation. They also don't peg in too well, so if you try to pose him, odds are it's going to find a spot to move to without really getting in the way of anything. There is a thigh rotation, there is a 90-degree knee, and not a whole lot that you can do with the ankle's actual hinge because it snaps into place. You do have an ankle tilt, though, so you can stabilize him. So, good range of posability. He is a pretty agile Dinobot, as Dinobots tend to not be so agile. But for the most part, I think he does make up for a few deficiencies with posability. And hey, he's nice and solid all the way around. My example of this toy has very firm hinges in all dimensions and all points of articulation. That's good. So let's get that weapon in here. We'll see how he looks with that attached. Goes in with a handle on the side, which I absolutely hate. Like, I hate when you come up with a cool weapon for a transformer, and then the only way you can actually get it into his hand is to have a handle extending off from where he would actually be gripping it. It looks awkward, it looks very impractical weapon-wise, and I just don't like it. The big mace does kind of suit him, I will give him that. But for the most part, yeah, it just kind of looks weird when he's holding it. Maybe that's just me. You know, my preferences get a little bit strange sometimes. So that, my friends, in a nutshell, is our Age of Extinction Grimlock, the leader of the new age of Dinobots in the Age of Extinction. And he's not a bad figure. Like, he's fairly solid all the way around. The only issues you're going to have are he is very strangely proportioned in beast mode. And he does have a few limitations in robot mode. But for the most part, solid all the way around. If you are into the movie aesthetic, or if you like the movie aesthetic applied to these dinos, and if you like dinosaurs that look like they're made of shrapnel, you're really not going to go wrong on this one.